So this episode of the podcast is really special, y'all. So special that when I was interviewing my man, Brother Ali, who I'm on tour with right now, I forgot to do my prayer to open up the podcast. Honestly, it slipped my mind, so I'm going to start off with this. Father God, for everyone listening to this podcast or watching it, please bless them so that this can be nourishing to their minds, to their spirits, and just allow me to be a vessel that you have used throughout this recording, throughout this podcast, to make this a space where people can grow, where people can feel more love, and people can ultimately grow closer to you. In Jesus' name we pray that we have a great episode. You heard me? Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, wow! In my most New Orleans voice ever.
Oh, nah.
You heard me? Yeah.
You heard me?
Yeah. Hey, man. It's your boy Dee-1 back for another episode of Flipping Tables with Dee-1. Whoosh. This the podcast, y'all. And I know y'all heard that New Orleans accent over there. Well, this brother next to me, he not from New Orleans, but he got the New Orleans dialect down pat. This is my main man, my touring partner, you feel me? We are on the Satisfied Soul Tour right now. My man, Brother Ali. Now, when I say the name Brother Ali, some of y'all probably get goosebumps and y'all like, man, this man got a living legend with him. This man, Dee-1, is sitting with rap royalty. And some people know that. They respect it as such.
Some people are like, oh, is that the KFC man?
Right? Hey, man, in case you think he's the KFC man, I want to bring y'all up to speed. Man, Brother Ali has been around. This brother been touring for over 20 years, releasing music for over 20 years. I know firsthand, because we're on the road together, has such a loyal, dedicated fan base that many of them have grown up with his music being the soundtrack to their lifestyle. And people look at it as conscious rap mixed with just authenticity, mixed with, because this is the interview and this is the tour that a lot of people feel like shouldn't happen, because this is all mixed in with him being very much a practicer of his faith, you know what I mean? And him being a devout Muslim and being proud of that and literally not sugarcoating that in his social media or in his music, and people know that about him. So people are like, well, wait, Dee-1, you the same way about your faith and you a Christian. So how does that work? How does that coexist? And some people go so far as to say that shouldn't coexist. But this is an artist who I have respected for a long time. And now that the opportunity had presented itself to tour together, we've been killing these shows. We knocked 5 shows out. We live from Reno, Nevada as we speak. But ladies and gentlemen, before we go any further with the tour, I had to pull up on him in his hotel room and get this podcast popping. So with no further ado, Brother Ali. Man.
We've been talking for days,
bro,
off camera.
Bro, off camera, and it's like, it's time to record this.
Yeah.
Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
All this rich conversation. This is a wealthy conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Moral wealth, spiritual wealth. Mm-hmm. And we finally recording it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are actually a person who, once you interviewed me for your podcast, the Travelers Podcast, I was like, man, I didn't even have a podcast back then, but I was like, whenever I do have one, I gotta get Brother Ali on. So this means a lot. Dope. So this is officially, my podcast is called Flipping Tables with Dee-1. You know, whoosh, that's the sound effect. Whoosh, whoosh, there you go. Cause flipping tables, man, just like Christ had to do inside the temple. You know what I mean?
I already know.
So for everybody who's watching this, listening to this is Dee-1 with Brother Ali live from the Satisfied Soul Tour. Mm-hmm. Man, we're on one of our off days.
We're in Reno, Nevada, of all places.
Yes, Reno.
Yeah.
I know this ain't new territory for you. You've probably been through this piece for about 20 years, performing. And for me, it's interesting because, man, in so many ways, I feel like I have accomplished like a whole lot, right? And I know from a personal place, it's been transformative as far as my life and lifestyle-wise and just... but in some ways, I still feel like a brand new artist, you know, and being on this tour, being with you, and hearing, oh yeah, man, I've been touring in this city for the past 22 years, you know what I mean? It's just like, wow. So the main thing that I ask myself when I watch you on stage every night is this still like fun to you, or does it feel just like a job at this point?
That's a great question. There's definitely times where it's very fun. There's definitely times where it's fun. And there's definitely times where it's rewarding and it feels like the right thing to do. And there are times too where I think just because of the fact that it's not in the like when things are new and exciting and hot for the fans, like they choose that, we don't choose it. So like me and Ant just made a new album that I think I'm as excited about as anything I ever did, and he is too. But for the fans, it's like when they discovered us, that was their moment with us. So it's not like a new hot thing to them anymore. So like the reason why, like I also, when I came along, I was new for like 7 years. Because from the time my first album came out I was new to every place I went, I was new to them. And so I know how that is. And I know people too that are just now learning about you. And I've known about you for 10 years, and we met 10 years ago, and you had already
Emotion,
done a lot.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And so yeah, it's still new to them. But there are times now where you have to really struggle to keep it going. And that part feels like work. That part is work.
To keep it going from a business infrastructure standpoint, you mean?
Yeah. Because of the fact that, like, okay, you make new music, it's not the same for me and for most artists. Some people stay relevant for a longer time, and so they still have like kids coming in. So like, there's a certain degree where like young people are still learning about Lupe. So like, you go to a Lupe show and there's a lot of young people there. So he's been able to do that, which is really dope. But that's not the case for the majority of people. So like, when you make a new album now, or you do a new tour or whatever, the majority of the people that already love you, to get them to know like, hey, I'm still going. And like, I still have things I want to say to you. I still have moments. There's more moments to be had together. Like, just getting the word out, the marketing part, like that part is just work.
Yeah.
And I hate its guts, and it's like, that's just going to work.
Yeah.
But you do it because, you know, it's like the chores you have to do.
Right.
It's just doing the chores.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't love scrubbing the baseboards, but I love my grandmother. You know what I mean? And
and
church ladies clean the baseboards.
Yeah, that's it. That
Church ladies iron, they clean the baseboard.
Yeah.
They eat their food and where the table is.
Yep.
There's like certain things that, like, I don't care about those things, but she does.
Yep.
So
and because I love her and I'm gonna honor her, I'm gonna do what's necessary.
So yeah, I do that, but that part is just work.
Yeah.
You know, but making the music is not. And then sometimes performing, like the other night, we were in Bend, and I was like, man, these people don't even know how to interact with what I'm doing. So I just
meaning like they don't have rhythm, like they don't know how to.
The rhythm was a challenge. I mean,
bounce.
yeah, it was that was a challenge. That's always a challenge for a lot of the rooms that I'm performing for. And I just make a joke out of it.
Right.
You know, but I say it. I'm not gonna not. But I try to say it.
And I think they love you for and appreciate that. Like, wow, he just called us out on being rhythmically challenged.
Yeah.
But we love him for it.
I mean, they'll accept it. They've learned to accept that from me.
Got you.
Because they know that I wasn't raised the same way they were raised.
Got you.
And that's part of what they like. It's like, okay, this is a safe kind of way that we can learn something.
Yeah.
But no, I just was like, they're going to stand here and just look at me unless I specifically tell them to do something. And then they'll kind of do that. But so I'm like, oh, okay, this is like tonight, it's not rocking the crowd. Like this crowd they just want to watch. So I just, like the other night in Bend, I was like, this for me is going to be how I'm actually rhyming. So I was just styling on stage. I was like, and it's like me and Ant. It's like my main man who I made my albums with, and we were raised in hip hop. So like, I'm styling and I'm almost like performing for him. You know what I mean? I'm just like, man, I'm just gonna. And I'm like, these people don't even know the level of rhyming that they're getting. Right. You know what I mean? But like, this is how.
Bro,
this is what I had to do opening for Rakim.
Wow.
This is what I had to do opening for MF Doom and Wu-Tang Clan or whatever.
And that was part of the showmanship, was how dope I'm rhyming, not what I'm wearing, not how many antics I have while I'm on stage or just how much I'm jumping around, but the quality of my rhyming.
Yeah.
The inflection, the fact that you can hear me, just the sonic nature of how my voice
the
sounds.
breath control, and then so like that audience, like the like classic hip hop audience, they're trained to listen for the words, and so when they hear the words, they're like, okay, this person knows, you know? And then the clothes have to at least be respectful, unless it's a gimmick, unless it's like I'm bumming on purpose, you know what I mean? So the clothes do have to communicate a certain thing.
Yeah, take me serious.
But I'm not out dressing Rakim.
Right.
And I'm not going to try to. They probably wouldn't even accept that from me. Like, but it's funny because when I did tour with Rakim, I would go shopping. He was going shopping every day. I was on his bus.
Wow.
And we went shopping every day.
Every day?
Yeah. And he would tell me like, yo Ali, you know that man, I see this for you, bro. And then one day we played New York, and his bodyguard, like famous guy named Big Moo, bought me an outfit as a gift for the New York show.
Really?
He got me an all white. This was 2008, 7, something like that. 2008. It was an all white Sean John suit with red piping.
What?
And then white Uptowns Air Force Ones with red laces.
Yeah.
He put the laces in.
What?
And he gave it to me as a gift. And I wore it on stage. And at that time, like the hot blog was Not Right.
All right.
And SK from Not Right he posted that was the picture from the show. It was me, Ghostface, and Rakim. And he's like, Brother Ali came out and stole the show in this fly Sean John suit. Like the suit was part of the story.
Wow.
I'm like, oh yeah, that's right.
Wow.
The clothes send a message about like, who am I? You know what I mean?
Man, that is powerful. So
yeah, I still got it too. It's in my storage space. I don't even live in Minnesota anymore, but I got it in storage.
Yeah.
Like that, because that's something to me.
Wow. And the interesting part is that we talked about this as well since we've been traveling, is that you know that for your audience, that probably wouldn't have had the same impact as it had for Rakim's audience, for them to see you
If
on
I
stage.
wore that on stage, that would signal to them that I'm in the part of hip-hop that they hate.
Okay.
They hated that. That was like part of them identifying with us is like, we don't like Puff Daddy.
Okay.
And we don't like bling bling rap.
So this is the anti-Puff Daddy. It's the anti-bling bling rap.
In their mind.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And the tricky part there is like, some of it is because they're like, we're about the art and the message and the music and we're not materialists and blah, blah, blah. Part of it is that. Part of it is racist though. Like part of it is like, we listen to the good. Because that's always like the thing. It's like, at first they completely reject black art when it's new. Because like, we don't understand it's dangerous. We can't hang sexually or rhythmically or physically. You know what I mean? Like, we can't hang with that.
Right.
And so it's just evil.
Wow.
Because that's a power that we don't have. It's
right.
like when they, you know.
So since we don't have it, it's not good.
It's from the devil. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And but then a few white people that are just mixed in with the culture, then they get good at it, and now we can fully those, and we'll call those people the greatest, and now we can be part of it, and our version of it is actually more morally superior.
Right.
Like we're actually here to purify this thing now.
Right.
And our artists are the best at it. So there's always like, there's people that like us for racist reasons, and what it means to them is not what it means to us.
Wow.
And so,
wow,
it's one of the things that like LP and like all those people that like LP was like the one white kid in the hip hop room in Brooklyn in the 80s and 90s. Like he's always been that guy. And you know what I mean? But then it's like, so by the time it was time for him to come out, there's also A$AP Rock, who has the same story, and Slug, who has the same story, and Sage Francis, who has the same story, and me, who have the same story. So now there's a bunch of people like that, and there's a whole fan base that's like, man, you guys are saving hip-hop, and blah, blah, blah. But all of us are just like, dude, what is this?
Wow.
And I can only imagine that the same thing happened with jazz and everything else.
Oh, my gosh. Man.
So if I wore that same suit on stage at a show, they would be like, oh, Brother Ali, he's sold out.
Correct. He's one of them now, or he's trying to be more like them. Yeah. And them is seen as black. They
would never say it's black.
They would never say it's black.
Nobody thinks they're racist.
Yeah.
Like the Ku Klux Klan, this is not about race. We don't hate anybody.
Man.
And
Bro.
like,
bro, even Christians, there's a lot of Christian nationalists out here who, in the name of Jesus, we're going to go and storm the Capitol. And in the name of Jesus, we're going to sit here and tell anybody who doesn't vote for Donald Trump that you're a demon and you're going to hell and you're not really Christian and all this.
You're voting for abortion. And
yeah.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I prayed this morning as I woke up and I prayed before I fully started my day. And once I was praying, I was reading the Bible, and I was reflecting on the fact that, man, a lot of these people in this world who have these points of view, they really aren't intentionally coming from a bad place. They're like misguided, then they take it to level 10, because it's like they're misguided and they're like, well, in order to be a good, American or a good Christian or a good Muslim or whatever you want to call it, I have to be all the way with this. So imagine a person driving down the wrong way down a one-way street and being like, now that I'm on this street, I got to go as fast as I possibly can and as far as I possibly can. And even if I see a lot of other cars coming at me head on, I'm swerving around them. And they've told themselves, this is all part of my calling. This is These are enemies that are coming at me.
Look how fearless I am.
Yeah. So,
I'm a missionary.
There you go, man.
Yeah, this is my jihad. I'm a missionary.
And it made me have... It made me have a certain level of empathy for people who may be like that, but it also became a challenge to be like, wow, like, how do you reach those types of people? And we see it in hip hop. We see it. I mean, I think this is a good segue into something that I've seen, on my end, which is people telling me I'm no longer a Dee-1 fan because look at the type of stuff he's doing now. He's on tour with a Muslim.
Is that real? Are those like real fans? Like I saw it because obviously like we're on the post together,
right?
And I would see that like, you're supposed to be equally yoked and it's like I understand, and like all people on the internet always, especially if you have a cause and everybody on the internet's got a cause that it's like, all right, and so because you're the emblem of the cause for them, it's like in their mind following you is what they're doing. About like that's how they walk the walk. It's like, well, I follow Dee walks the walk. So like I follow him, and then like somehow by association that makes me a realer Christian or whatever the thing is. And so if you take a step out that like challenges that for them, they're like, no, you're supposed to be doing the work on my behalf. You're supposed to be Christian on my behalf, and me following you is one of the ways that I know I'm a good Christian.
Right.
And so like, but I just wonder, like, do you think that those people were actually supporters, and like, do you feel like they're actually leaving you?
I don't feel like they were actually supporters. Nowadays, there's a distinguishment to be made between followers, observers,
right.
Observers, followers, and fans. Observers, they just lurk and they'll go on your social media pages just to keep up with what you have going on from a distance.
Yeah.
Some people will go so far as to say, well, I'm going to follow just because I'm curious and I don't want to have to do external work to search. I at least want to see what you have.
They're just keeping tabs.
Yeah, I'm keeping tabs though. So I count as a follower, but that doesn't mean that I'm a supporter, And then fans / supporters go that extra level to where they are like, I'm financially investing and attention-wise and word-of-mouth wise. I'm investing in making sure that you continue to have the means and the platform to do the work that you're doing,
And I've seen some of your fans start following me and start leaving beautiful messages on stuff and they know I'm Muslim, and like there a lot of times, like if I look at their profile, it'll be like, child of God and
right.
And I'll be like, oh, dope. And the things they send me, it's just like, man, it's so beautiful. Like, because they'll just be like, I see you out here having a positive message. I see you're a family man. I see, like, anything we have in common, they're trying to water that. You know what I mean? And it's beautiful. It's like, those are your real.
I think that's a fork in the road that a lot of people come to in life. At what point do you choose to lean into the commonalities that you have with someone, as opposed to emphasize the differences that you all may have. And I think that we are just poster children right now for that, to where if we wanted to, we could say, well, let's just focus on what we don't have in common, and let's allow that to make us never be able to collaborate.
One of the big things, though, is the fans that are at the shows are not Muslim. So they know I'm Muslim, and Muslims follow me, and Muslims sometimes will like have me speak at things, and they're happy for me. Like, there are Muslims that are happy for me. There are Muslims that think music is forbidden completely, and so those people that like is what they don't. But there are Muslims that follow me that are happy I'm doing what I'm doing. They might have me come speak at their convention or something like that. But my fan base are not Muslim. That's a key difference.
Okay, that's huge, actually. Yeah, and I can tell that at these shows. Yeah, I can totally tell that.
Yeah. So for them, it's like whether the guy on stage is Christian or Muslim. Right. I don't necessarily believe either one. But like, are they sincere? Is the message good? Is there love in this? And I think that like the people that still come, like I used to have way more people come. I think the people that still come, they're okay with like, I don't have to believe what the artist believes, but like, what are they offering me in terms of like the feeling, just what are they about? How do I feel? Because like people need something to be, people need church. Yeah. Like whether they know it or not. And people say all the time, like, man, I just felt like I was in church. And, you know, because like, okay, all right, fine, you don't. First of all, I don't really, like, this sounds so condescending to people that identify as atheists. But when I ask, like, so is it just the material world only? Is there no such thing as right and wrong? Is there no real objective truth? Is there no love or order behind the material world that actually, there's no love and order? So why is, you know what I mean? It's all made up. So like whatever the wrongest thing is to you could be right for somebody else? No, nobody, very few people really believe that. It's just like they just had such a bad experience, or a lot of times you just be like, I don't believe in God. Okay, what's God? Because once they start describing it, it's like, that's not God to me either. That's not what I'm talking about. So so most of my fans, it's like they already don't agree, like theologically. Gotcha. You know what I mean? Gotcha. And that's why I knew that a lot of them would appreciate you and love you, and like I think they could actually start being like, man, I love this guy. Yeah. I would. Some of them just want to see a white person rap really good. Gotcha. There's nothing that can be done about that. Gotcha. Because then when I step on that stage, they're like, "Oh, he's light skinned, but he's not light enough. He got enough melanin to where, dang, he don't check the. I just want to see a white dude rap real fast. And by the way, they want to see a white dude rap fast. Oh, they love fast. They love that. Oh, fast gets it every time. Oh man, the fast. I love him. And there's one little part where I do that every night. I know. And me and Ant laugh every night. I know. It's like, dude, it's so easy. I know. You know how easy it is to rap fast? Like, that's the easiest thing in the world. But again, that's not drip. That's not swag. That's not culture. Yeah. That's just a movement that can be, if you just put enough time into that, you can just train your tongue to do that. Gotcha. That's not from the heart. That's not soul. Gotcha. That doesn't, and you have to have a certain sense of rhythm. But Miles Davis used to say, Miles Davis actually, when they got out of like hot jazz to cool jazz, he used to tell white players specifically that would come in trying to do bebop, take half them notes out. Wow. And he would tell people stop doing the vibrato, stop waving the note all over the place, because he just want to see just play straight notes and not a lot of them. And then we'll see how you play. Then we're gonna really see what you're like. You take all the tricks away, because you can learn tricks. You can't learn soul. Like that has to be. Wow, that's a different thing. Wow, and there's a lot of people in the rap game right now who are just looking for whatever tricks they can get to as quick as they can get to them, and say, I can build a career off of just a bunch of tricks, literally. And the tough part is there's fans who fall for these tricks of all stripes. There's stuff black people fall for too. It's not my place to say it, for sure. But everybody falls for stuff. Yeah, everybody's falling for something. Yeah, no, it's definitely you know me. You know it's my place to say it. Yeah. The tricks that black people falling for, because I see it, bro, and it breaks my heart. And I just want to say it with the camera on. I come from a time in hip hop where the message was there for everybody. It had to be. Like, even the gangsters, even Ice-T was pro-black. Even Ice-T knew the difference between right and wrong. Even the Ghetto Boys, everybody that was about that. You know what I mean? And the positive figures in hip-hop were so prevalent, and they had to be the message. And if they weren't, then we were deeply disappointed.
Okay.
But it's less and less and less and less and less and less and less, to the point where right now, who you are and what you represent, which is why Ant is so in love with you. You know what I mean? Because Ant is just like, where's Public Enemy?
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like where is...
Like right now.
Yeah, where's the positive? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and like you, and doing it the way that you're doing it, nobody else could do it. Because you are, like we said with the, before we turn the camera on, there's certain people that are just created to be that messenger. And you are that. It's so obvious to anybody that keeps track of that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Man. And I've said something very similar to Kendrick.
Wow.
When Kendrick was starting, I was like, man, you can't imagine how happy we are that you're here.
Wow.
Both for his level of rhyming,
but
then also for the fact that he's navigating it. So it's like, I might not agree with every single thing, but it's like, he is that message. I didn't like how he went it. I didn't like that.
When at Drake.
Yeah. I just think that the enemies of black people love to see black people destroy each other. I don't like that part.
Yeah.
I don't like that part. And I was raised by black families, and talking about people's mother by name and like, where's that? That's not how I was taught.
Yeah.
And I think that him saying your name, man, this is like, he said your name because he knew D wouldn't have done that.
Wow.
I think that's what he means.
Wow.
I don't still know him.
Wow.
But
man,
I think that was him saying maybe that wasn't a very Christian thing to do.
Wow.
And I think he said your name because I want to be empathetic in my heart like D1, because you tell the truth all the time, and you are what, for people seeing and hearing this, like you are this person all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's people that are on their best behavior when the camera's on, and it is them, but you are this person in the middle of the night. You're this person first thing in the morning. You're this person when you're sleepy, when you're hungry, when you're tired.
Thank you, brother.
When the white homie plays a comedian making an off-color joke.
Yeah.
That was a very Christian response.
Yeah.
Who is this?
Yeah.
That was, you know what I mean? What is this we're listening to?
Yeah.
And he cut it off and was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I could tell you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at that moment, I was like, man, and usually in those moments, I'm like, okay, it's my job to say something so you don't have to. And so I'm going to talk to him offline. But the fact that you said it like that was like, something needs to be said. We're not going to make you feel terrible. I can tell you already feel bad.
Right.
But also something needs to be said. This can't go without, you know what I mean?
Right.
So we're torn with the white homie who loves hip hop, loves Cornel West, loves jazz, you know what I mean? But he was listening to a comedian. And I knew it was coming. The second I heard that voice, I was like, this man's going to say something messed up.
Really? And
then it happened, and he was like, oh,
So for people who don't know, the comedian proceeds to say the N-word, and I'm just waking up from a nap, and I'm not even knowing what I'm listening to, but I can tell it's a white voice, and...
a southern white man with a deep drawl. Not that all southern white people are more racist or racist at all.
But I hear that, and then I hear him saying the N-word, and then instantly... it just makes me curious, like, what's going on right now, you know? And we've already had the vibe checks of one another. This is the first week of tour, so we've had the vibe checks of, kind of feeling each other out to the point where I don't feel like anyone that's on tour with us has a malicious type of energy. Everyone has their own pressures that they're under to do their job to the best of their ability. So I'm sensitive to what everybody is going through, and I'm in a space to where it's like simultaneously I want to like spiritually and energetically take up as much space as possible for righteousness, not even for the sake of D1's presence is everywhere, but I want to take up as much space on behalf of God as possible. And at the same time, I want to be as selfless and as much of a servant leader as possible. So all of that just dictates the type of response that, you know, I came with in that moment, and the fact that I even saw it as an opportunity that, man, we got 3 off days coming up. Let me room with dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
and he didn't know that y'all were rooming together.
Correct.
Like normally
and I didn't say anything purposely. I knew that that was gonna, you know, be a thing because I had talked to you about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just because it's like, once again, the vibe check showed me that, man, nobody out here has malicious intentions. So if somebody steps on my toe, or if I step on somebody's toe, that can either lead to an instant fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, they had a song back in Baton Rouge when I was in college. Do what you do, but watch my shoes.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you step on my shoes?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
But it's like, nah. Oh, you stepped on my shoes? Oh, if you look at me man to man in the eye after that and say, my bad, brother.
Right.
You know, that's my fault right there.
But also, if you're flailing about, you need to learn that you have to be intentional not to step on shoes, even if you didn't mean to step. And so that's my thing. It's like, you should not have to hear that type of thing, especially on a tour in your culture.
Right.
Like, you should, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's if a white person is going to be in a hip hop space, understand, like Lord Jamar said it perfectly. And Lord Jamar took me on tour when I was like, the second year of touring. I opened for Brand Nubian.
Okay.
And Lord Jamar has always been like so beautiful to me. When he was going through the thing of like, white people are guests in the house, you know what I mean? He put a tweet out. He was like, hey, just so everybody know, R.A. the Rugged Man and Brother Ali are my little brothers. I mess with these dudes. Listen to them.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
okay.
Which me and R.A. were like, yo.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Because we were both raised like that. I stayed at R.A. the Rugged Man's crib. He lived in Harlem, not like gentrified Harlem.
For real.
He lived in Harlem.
Okay.
Everybody knew him and loved him. And like, yeah, man.
Yeah. That authenticity.
But, you're a guest. So it's like, be a guest. And you know what's interesting? Back in the day, I used to be a lot more like hardcore. And when white people would come in our tour van, me and Brendan would play Paul Mooney.
Really?
In the van. And
really?
Laugh. And just be like, because a white person had to sit through Paul Mooney and see me and Brendan dying laughing. Because if a white person is truly like anti-racist, you know these things are true, and it's like you know what I mean. So it's like it feels so good for somebody.
And if they can't laugh at that makes a statement.
Well, even if they don't laugh, like a lot of white people are not ready to laugh at that. But we're just kind of seeing their response.
Let's just see. It's a vibe check.
How you deal with this one?
Yeah, it's a vibe.
This
check.
is where you are.
Yeah,
with us, like we know.
Yeah.
That, we know what this is, and it will never. It will never be something different to us.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then also the conversation that I have with him, you shouldn't have to be exposed to that.
Got you.
Because it's that, I mean, but you, though, you're particularly, like, gifted and really very clear. And the way you are with everybody is extremely wise. And I think anybody that might not know you, they may think that when you call people out by name, that you're just doing that for recognition. And they probably, I know that people read that wrong. Yep. You know what I mean? But there is not ego in what you do. There's not. So for anybody that's like, you know, and I wouldn't compliment, if there was, I just wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't, but you know, but there's not ego in what you do. It's not selfish.
Thank you.
You make huge sacrifices and you don't avail yourself of a lot of the yummy treats of what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You don't flex on people. You don't. So like you came into a guy where a lot of the crew is white. They don't know that you're famous.
Right.
You're black famous.
Right.
You're black famous, which is a very special type of famous. They don't know that.
Right.
But then everywhere we go where there's black people, they're like, Dee-1?
Right.
And you see the whole crew be like, what? You know what
you talking about the dude that's opening for Brother Ali?
Yeah. It's like they don't know that.
Yeah.
They don't understand that. And because nothing about you conveyed that to them. There was never, do you know who I am?
Got you.
There was never
big iced out, you know, this, that, or the third, right? Oh,
you could definitely be doing things right now that earn you more money and more flowers and more, you know. Right. Now, so even the fact that you're here is like shows that it's like, all right, yes, but like I want to go figure this thing out.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And that's something to where I'm curious, man. Are you a weekend, are you able to, not that you even do it for this or care much about this, but are you able to genuinely see like the level of reverence that I have for you? You feel like you can tell it, because it's immense, you know what I mean? When I just look at...
Well, we're just, like I told you, like there's certain people that like when I see them, I'm like, oh, we're friends.
We know each other.
Yeah. And Allah has brought me to all those people, and it's true. Across the board. There's people I look up to, that I really love their music, but I don't feel drawn to them as a person. Like I've been around Jay-Z, and I'm like, I don't need to say anything.
Gotcha.
He's probably my favorite. I don't know. He might be objectively the best.
Okay.
My favorite is going to be Rakim and Yasin Bey. Like, that's always going to be my favorite. KRS-One.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like, he's probably the best. And his music means a lot to me. A lot to me. But I don't need to know.
Gotcha.
I just don't feel drawn to him personally.
Yep.
And it's like that with a lot of people. But then there's certain people that like... It was like that with Dr. West. It's like that with certain comedians. It's like that was... I see certain people and I'm like, I know this person. And then every time I meet them, it's like, yeah.
It's what you thought it was.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So for me, it's like, you are the continuation of all those people. And God made us all part of the same lineage. You know, and the Muslims believe, the Quran talks about a time when all of the human beings, all the souls that ever existed were together before this life. So there not only is there an afterlife, but there was a before this life, and this life is the only one where there's lies and disbelief and heedlessness and deception and lovelessness and hate and lies and pettiness and corniness and BS and all. This is the only realm where there's that to be tested, to show us who we are. Once we have our own type of like sovereignty as humans, like, okay, go do whatever you want. Let's see, you got a soul, you got an intellect, you got a heart, you got an ego. Now go figure it out.
You got free will.
Yeah. So who are you?
Yeah.
So that when you get to Judgment Day, you watch the movie of what did you do when you had all this stuff. Like when you had a choice, what'd you do? You know what I mean? And so even the people in the fire, there's a sense of justness. There's a sense of justice to them. That like they don't like being in the fire, but it's like they watch themselves and they're like, I did those things to those kids or those people or whatever. But so before this, there was no corniness. It was all witnessing God, and all the souls were together. And God says to the whole of humanity, "Am I not your Lord?" And all of humanity says, "We witness that you're our Lord." And then we come into this realm, and then we see what's up. And so, but the Muslims believe that there were people who were together, that the human beings were in ranks, and there were certain people that were together in ranks because they had a certain place in this life. And so when we come into this life, there's certain people we recognize. Like they say, real recognize real. It's like, you know what I mean? We were witnessing God together, like almost certainly, before this. And so we're all part of the same lineage. We come at different times and we have different types of exposure and whatever else. But to me, like, being brothers with you is no different than being brothers with KRS-One. Or I'm not close like that with KRS, but like Chuck D or Yasin Bey or Cornel West or Minister Farrakhan, whoever. Like everybody that's in this, like, oh, I have a gift, but it's just for the sake of the truth, and it's for God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is actually way easier than people might think. Like, so from my perspective, I look at it like being a Christian makes it to where I always ask myself, just like the bracelet on my wrist, what would Jesus do? You know? So in any environment that I'm at, I've stopped looking at it like, what can I gain from this, as opposed to what can I add to this?
Plain that you see, it's so obvious.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because that is the true test of if I'm striving to be as Christ-like as possible while I'm down here. I'm not gonna always be able to micromanage where I'm at in each situation, because you don't know, you could be eating at a burger joint and then all of a sudden, you know, a situation presents itself to you, but then it's like, well, what would Jesus do in this situation? Or, okay, I'm touring, and right before I go on stage in Portland, Oregon, I get some people reach out to me in DMs and comments and say, good luck tonight. They say Portland is a godless city. You know what I mean? And so I go down a rabbit hole doing my Googles, and I'm like, oh, wow, about half of Portland identifies as atheist or agnostic. So I'm like, bet. On my set list tonight, I got a song called I Know God.
Got a plan for me.
Yeah. I know God,
I
got a plan
and
for me.
And you're like, y'all say it.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay.
Yeah. And
I mean, I guess so.
Exactly. And I see that. And then I see, I got all glory to God. That's on the set list with Project Pat. All glory be to God. All glory be to God. Yeah. I'm just a vessel trying to resist the devil. Yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, like in these.
And I tell the crowd to say hallelujah, and then I say alhamdulillah, which is the Arabic. It's like it's the same phrase, hallelujah, alhamdulillah, same thing. But they all say it. Say amen. Say hallelujah.
Yeah.
Say, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they all say it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, man, we're in this moment. You know what I mean?
Correct.
It would be like if Merce was doing some crip walk thing or something.
Right.
Or like, you know what I mean? They'd be like, man, I'm not equating to you know, but. Yeah, man.
But something that's just authentic to that person's identity and lived experiences and whatnot. Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny because somebody was like, somebody asked me, a Muslim was like, so when you see a sincere person like this, do you try to offer them Islam? And it's like, man, I believe Islam. We've had this conversation. It's like, in religion, there's things like something's either true or it's not true. And God's gonna sort that out. You know what I mean? But then also the way that I said it to you, I'd say this is like, if somebody came and they're saying like, I love your mom, and I feel like she's my mom, and like I made her I brought all these gifts, I made her food, and it's like the mom that I know doesn't like those kind of gifts and doesn't like that kind of food. But if you really love my mom, and and I'm like, I'm her actual son, you know what I mean? But it's like, I will love you for that. Like if it's sincere, it's like, and I don't think I'm better than you. You know what I mean? And like, and vice versa, you know. And so, but I'm so happy when I meet a for real Christian. Because in the Quran, like we're the last of the three religions, the Abrahamic faith. So it's like the Jewish tradition, and then Christ came, and they're still waiting for a Messiah. It's like, that's not Christ. To us, it's like, that's the Messiah. Yeah. And his mother is a saintly person that is like, some Muslims consider her a prophet. You know what I mean? It's like, man, this is like, you know what I mean?
That's the Virgin Mary.
And then the Prophet Muhammad came, peace be upon him, who's a descent from that same lineage of prophets. Like he's a descendant of Abraham. You know what I mean? And Ismail. And so it's like, man, so for us, the other two, even when the Prophet Muhammad came, the other two religions were already in full effect. So we know there's always going to be Christians, there's always going to be Jews. So like, I'm so happy when there's real Christians.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, it makes me so happy.
Wow.
You know what I mean? My uncle was like that.
Wow.
And my uncle, he died, but he was a for real Christian.
Really?
And he was an evangelical. It's like, if you really question him, he thinks I'm going to hell unless I get saved. And if you really, you know, and in Islam, like, to think that a human being is God or the son of God is shirk. It's like the major problem theologically.
That's the major difference.
It's the major problem, like theologically. But it's like, man, but between us and what the Quran talks about is like, we're not going to have the same theology, but we are still family. You know what I mean? And man, my uncle was one of the truest religious people I ever knew. And he was so just loving. He respected so much that we were trying to live our religion. Yeah,
that's how the streets are, to where all these people try to crack the code to, you know, how do you get respect from the real G's and the real gangsters in the streets? And I think I said it in the Sprinter one day. I was explaining it to somebody. I'm like, man, when you really grow up in the streets, you realize that being your most authentic self is the quickest way for the dudes that are living that life fully to be like, oh, we really rock with this dude, because he's not trying to, in a performative way, be one of us. You know what I'm saying?
That's where the name Brother Ali comes from.
Yeah.
Because people would be smoking or playing dice or something, and they'll put it behind their back. They'll be like, man, don't smoke that in front of Brother Ali. Salaikum salam, brother. You know what I mean? Like, they'll try to, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Because it's like, man, all you got to do is show that you're real.
Yeah. Bro.
Just don't ever let us see you sliding with a shorty or eating some pork or something. Or like, if we see you're praying and you're trying to, if you're trying to walk walk that. Because anybody that's ever really tried to live something knows how hard it is.
Yeah.
It's just like any other entrepreneur. Like, you run into another person, like, grinding in music or whatever.
Right.
It's like, we brought up some names today. Some of those people that I don't rock with how they present themselves, I respect I respect how hard they work.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, I'll never front on that part because I work hard. You know what I mean? Anybody's trying to actually really live something, you have to respect it.
Man, you know what's been funny to me, but it just makes me, I guess I smile internally, but I just chuckle externally. Like a few times Ant will be around me and he'll be talking and he'll like curse and then he'll catch himself and be like, I mean, you know, and I'm like, Ant, bro, that's saying a lot, because Ant, like, you older than me, like, you my elder, you know what I'm saying, and you been out here on this road, like, just doing music even way before I was doing music and all this, but I can tell that there's a respect level and a reverence there, and even certain fans at the shows, like, man, you effing killed it. I mean, sorry, my bad. I'm so sorry. So, brother, you did amazing. You know, tonight you did an amazing. Like, God bless you. You know, but man. And
well, when Ant was about to introduce you the other day, he was about to really put 20 on it, like, because he was happy to be introduced. He was like, Hold on, y'all.
That's what it was.
He said, hold on, y'all.
That's what it was.
Hold on, let me start over. Let me do my man right.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's amazing.
Yep.
D-1.
D-1.
But he's about to say D-motherfucker. Because that's his way of being like, yo, this dude is killing it.
Yeah, not like I'm
and the first night, he's like, I just met him today. I don't really know what it is, but D-1.
D-1, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Yeah, so
man.
That's dope.
Yeah, Ant learned how to be, he told me this on a podcast, but I've always known this, but to him, in the world he grew up in, because Ant grew up in a black family, but he looks white. And so to him, Richard Pryor is how he learned to speak.
Okay.
And express himself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, when I was a little kid, it's like Farrakhan is the person who, I was a little kid so angry about race and I could never articulate it. And I saw Farrakhan on Donahue and I was like, oh my God.
Oh, wow.
It's like somebody just said all the stuff that I want to say and don't know how to say it.
Wow.
And he said it so beautifully and like, so look how dope he is. You know what I mean? Look how he looks and like, you know what I mean? And then I found out about Malcolm X and then became a Muslim. But like, it's that, you know what I mean? So for him, like his Farrakhan, I mean, he also loves Cornel West, loves Farrakhan. Like, he loves anybody that's able to really be sincere in articulating their thing.
Yep.
But for him, it's Richard Pryor.
Wow.
So think, like, anytime you hear him speaking, he learned that, like, that's how you be sincere, because Richard Pryor will cry and just be so human. So the art he makes, the way he talks, the way he engages, is all, that's his, that was his gateway to, like, being a person.
Man, I'm really curious about if you have any, advice. Like I said, there's a reverence that I have in seeing how you've navigated your career, how you've navigated your message being woven into the music, how you have made sacrifices and haven't compromised, and just seeing your dedication to the craft, but also to your character. You know what I'm saying? Like, I done seen us pull the Sprinter van over in the middle of, there were no lanes to pull over in, but you had to pray. It was that time to pray. And I'm seeing that, and I'm like, okay. And then to hear, as I'm seeing this stuff and just admiring the dedication to the business side, the character side of what you do, and the integration of all of those being part of like one package, and then hearing that, like, wow, you think highly of me. It makes me naturally say, I told you there's a short list of people in this industry who I feel like, yep, the music and the message is woven into one, and there's true authenticity there from them, not manufactured authenticity, because once people became hip to the fact that authenticity is a superpower and authenticity sells, then people started to, just like with anything, let's go manufacture some authenticity. Let's get some knockoff authenticity. And we both know artists who is like, yo, let's do that. And as long as we can...
know people that are famous for being us.
Oh, extra... Bro.
There are people that are mad famous for being us.
Bro, facts, bro. Facts. And the real fans know it, you know what I'm saying, as well.
Maybe.
I would say.
I think sometimes the fans might think that that we're the same. They might just put you in the same category as that person and not realize. I don't know if people necessarily realize that.
That's real. That's real. Well, the people know it. The people who, and when I say the people who have manufactured the authenticity.
They know, and that's really.
They know, and that's why.
It's so hard for them. I'm like, man, I'd rather have this.
Yeah.
Than the Grammy and the money.
Yeah.
And so would they. I know that. I know the people that got Grammys and money. And I know how bad they want to be real and how bad they wish they were respected. And they would trade to sit here with you and not just bring us on tour and not just throw us a bone so that they can be up close and, you know what I mean? And be associated with the uncut. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like I know they would rather have this. And I don't envy them. I genuinely feel for them.
Yeah, that's powerful, bro. I feel the same way, and I've been eternally grateful to God for the fact that, like, wow, like you just chose for my superpower to be genuine authenticity. Like thank you. Like I could have had a whole bunch of other superpowers, but by far, like you chose to make my most noticeable superpower to just be, oh yeah, your authenticity is unmatched, and that's a blessing, and I see that in you. So because I see that, I'm curious about. I don't ask many people for advice, you know. Because I don't feel like a lot of people in this industry are in a place to give advice that really feels applicable to the type of path that I'm on, you know. So as I'm asking you this in real time, it's coming from, and this is gonna continue throughout the tour. I'm gonna just tell you, because I'm gonna maximize this time where I can reach out and touch you and talk to you before you go back to Turkey. You know what I mean? And I gotta send you a voice memo to get some advice. So I'm asking you in real time, man.
This is honest. It's not just because the camera's on. I don't feel qualified to do that, because the thing that you've done so much that I didn't do. Like I didn't come in purely representing my message. I was compromising. I came in cursing like crazy, and I came in but that's genuinely where I was at in that moment in life. But I didn't come in as pure as you, so I'm not in a place to give you advice.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean,
dang,
yeah,
that's okay.
You came in very clear and very pure from the very beginning, and I didn't. Like it took me a minute to get to where I'm at. And that's where I was truly at. And the one thing that maybe I might say to somebody else, but it just doesn't apply to you, you don't need it, is like you have figured out something that takes most people that are trying to be about positivity. It takes them a long time, and it drives a lot of them crazy. But it's not a claim. Like your dedication to your message is not a claim of perfection, which for a lot of people, it's understood that way, and so it drives people crazy because deep down we all know that we've got major contradictions. We're all bad. We're all living with the weight of major contradictions,
sin, vices.
Yes.
Yeah. Like
just straight up, like you said this and then you did that. And sometimes it's private and sometimes it's not. And like sinning publicly it's really a catastrophe. And I've got all kind of music where I said all kind of crazy stuff, and it's just out there forever. And even though I don't even talk like that anymore, and I don't, you know, but being able to carry that and walk with that and live with it. So for some people it's a claim, and it's not even like you should stop making that claim because you're being fake, but that eats a person up on the inside, and it makes them sometimes give up. So they'll, like when you see people that are like so publicly good, and then in their private life they just get worse and worse and worse, and they turn into like a tyrant. That like where somebody, like I told you, I was connected to a very public religious person that I was told if you knew who this person really was, you wouldn't be with them.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because if it's a claim, then our contradictions make us like we become two people. There's like the private, and it becomes fake. So that's where you get the fake preacher. That's where you get the false prophet. That's where you get the cult leader. That's where you get the whatever. Because like those people did have the gift, but it's like being able to know that these mistakes is all part of my relationship with God. Like that's it's deeply intrinsic. The Quran says if you didn't sin, talking about human beings, I would wipe you out and replace you with people that sinned and came back and repented.
Wow.
It's part of the relationship with God.
Wow.
To be needy of grace, mercy, forgiveness. You know what I mean? So like when it becomes a claim for somebody that like their goodness isn't just their message, that like if I'm going to talk to people, what's the best thing to say? If I'm going to be with people, what's the best way to be? So like it becomes a claim that all of your love for God should be directed to me. You know what I mean? It's a really fine line, but when you talk about authenticity, it's like that's something that I would share with somebody, because I know people that went crazy because people thought they were good and they knew that they had contradictions and they didn't know what to do about that because it became their identity. Goodness, it's like either being good is your identity or being a witness for good is your identity, and they're not the same.
They're not the same.
Yeah, and so it's not a claim with you. You're not claiming anything.
Right.
You don't have a claim, and anybody that listens to you knows that. You know what I mean? And it does, and that also is true. Where it's like, I'm a human being. I haven't always, you know what I mean? It's not that every single thing that I do is perfect.
Right.
But there's sincerity, like the sincerity that it takes, like the real egolessness or something, like the real selflessness and submission to God is like to at least be honest with God. You know what I mean? That like I am doing some things that are not part of I'm even violating my own stuff on some level. And how dare I do that? You know what I mean? And like it really is, and I'm asking your forgiveness not because of me, but because it's beneath you for me to ask your forgiveness and you not give it to me, depending on my sincerity. So like, make me sincere, and also it's like, even any like worship or good or whatever, it's just a gift you gave. It's just a gift you gave me. Yeah. Like anything that people see in good is just what you made easy for me. Like I'm not really working that hard. Right. Like you made me good. And then you're going to reward me for my good? And then I also mess up. And I hate the fact that I mess up and I can't seem to figure out even what to do about it right now. And sometimes it takes years to fix stuff. But it's like, man, it's like that's the... and that's really, to me, that's real Christianity. Like the real Christians I know, like they really embody that. And you're like that. And... none of the real Christians, but the real Muslims I know are the same way. But like Christianity is known for that. It's like what's Christianity at its best known for is grace. Like we all say that word because of Christianity. It's an English word, right? But every time it's said, I mean, you think about Christians, yes, for sure. Yeah, you don't think about. And that's why I'm like, man, I need there to be real Christians. Yeah. I need there to be real Jews. Oh man, I love a good Jew. I love a real, like a rabbi or like a, you know. Yeah, what I mean? That's what I was gonna say. What's a good Jew? Well, I mean, let's take the Israel part out of it for now. You know, but like, so as a Muslim, like I follow the Sharia, which is the commandments, the prophetic code, it's the commandments. But like in Islam, it's really preserved. So like that's one of the critiques that someone would have of Christianity, is that it became unclear at the moment that Christ came and replaced, you know what I mean? So the way that the Jewish community had preserved the legal tradition of you know what I mean? How do we know if it's a valid observance of the Sabbath or not? That's there's a law to that. Right. You know what I mean? And in Islam we have that. The critique of Christianity is that a lot of that was very confusing. And that's what a lot of those councils were about. And that's what a lot of like early European Christianity had wars about. Like they couldn't agree on certain theological things. They couldn't agree on certain. And so white European Christians killed each other over it. So this whole thing that like, well, religion just makes people kill itself. No, I'm sorry, that's what white Europeans did with Christianity. You know what I mean? And it's not that they're the only ones that have had wars over religion, but that's what people are talking about. People fight, human beings fight over stuff, you know. But so in the Islamic tradition we have that. So like I only eat halal meat. Like so when we stop, like I'm always eating fish and salad. Like that's all I can eat in a regular place. But I'll eat kosher meat. You know what I mean? Because they still keep their code. In the Quran it says that we can eat their meat. So like Jews that really like practice and like keep their laws, I respect that. And when like I got Jewish homies and you know.
Basically you saying being a good Christian, a good Jew, a good Muslim is just really be about what you say you're about. Yeah, like really, really be about it. Yeah. And even if it's something that's like, oh, that's different from what I do personally, but you're really about that. Yeah.
And there's like in Islam, it's never an understanding that everybody's supposed to be Muslim. There's always an understanding, like it's deeply in the way that the Prophet Muhammad was, peace be upon him, and in the Quran. There's always going to be other religions. And Christianity and Judaism are two religions that we thoroughly respect. And like there has to be Christians. You know what I mean? There has to be Jews.
That's powerful.
And we can marry Christians and Jews. You know what I mean? We can marry Christians and Jews.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
And they follow their. So when I first married my wife, she was still Catholic.
Really?
And she doesn't follow the Islamic Sharia.
Oh, okay.
In our house we do. So they're like, so in her thing, and you know, she wasn't Muslim yet. So I can't tell her like you can't have a drink. You can't do whatever. Like we can't do it in this house. Like it's a Muslim house. But you're a Christian and I can't and wouldn't and shouldn't enforce like the Muslim Sharia on you. But if you're Catholic, then you have to follow again. And when Muslims controlled lands where there were Christians had their own courts. Oh, and wow. Jews had their own courts.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like if a Christian cheated on his wife, you go to your people and they talk to you about that. You do that. You do that in your own community. And I wish they had black courts. It's like just have black courts. Man, you're supposed to be judged by your peers.
That's one thing.
And some comedian, that would be an amazing sketch.
Bro,
like black court.
You're right. Black. You know what I mean? You're right, bro. Separate from every other type of court. Have black court. Bro, black court would be so funny, bro.
Like order in the court would be like, okay, what we're not going to do. It would be like its own.
So what we not gonna do is, and everybody straighten it back up at that point. Oh, she mean business.
Yeah, it would be definitely a woman.
Right. Definitely be a woman too.
It would definitely be a grandmother.
For sure, absolutely. Now brother. This is this is definitely divine timing to where everything about shout out to my man Murs, who his name has come up multiple times on this tour. Somebody we both are closely connected to.
Love Murs.
Have you ever seen the movie that me and Murs put out? I don't know if you know, we both starred in a movie called Mall Dogs. We shot it in South Central.
I've heard about this movie. I've heard so much about this.
It's self-funded. It's an independent film. We paid for it. Me, Murs, and our homie Tabby Bonet from DC. Yeah. So we shot that whole thing in LA. Put it out. It's currently on Amazon Prime. It's on Tubi. This is like a real movie. So we have shot a movie, started a movie together. We have done a collab album together. We have toured the U.S. and Europe together. And it's to the point to where a lot of people from the outside looking in wouldn't even see what the synergy is between me and him, you know, in a lot of ways. But it's there and it's stuck, you know. And the way he spoke about this is gonna be great. The same D, you know how I feel about you, and the same way I feel about you, I feel about Ali.
That means the world, cause Murs is. Yeah. I said this about Amp. I say about Murs too. If you got a friend like Murs, you don't need a second friend. If Murs is your friend, you don't need any other friends.
That's real. That's real. So I must say that this whole time has just it was one of those things where it's like, okay, I know this is where I'm supposed to be during this time. And I have so much peace about that at that point it just becomes cool. Show up as your best self and just do the work. There's still work to be done for sure. And some of the work is obvious in terms of rocking crowds, in terms of just showing up, being professional, being on time, pushing what we have going on. Because last thing I'll bring up is, you brought this up to me before the tour, is I think you felt like there was an opportunity there for us to let hip-hop see how big this is symbolically. Yeah, expound upon that a little bit.
Well, I just think it's really important that it's just so hard to, just the way the industry is set up is to just really not even have voices like ours be part of the conversation, which is why flipping tables, it's like, you know what I mean? Which is the reason that like I said, I think the biggest misconception that people would have about you is that you're doing what you're doing for clout. And it's not that. But it's that sometimes you need to be specific about what you mean. And so sometimes people's names will come up. And if you hadn't, but also not nobody, but the industry wasn't really paying attention to you until you said those names and until those people responded. And when people say clout, it's like, those people threatened you. And I've been threatened. You know what I mean? There was a hit on me for trying to make peace between Rakim and Tech Nine.
Really?
I had a green light on my head. And
for trying to make peace?
Yeah.
For trying to make peace?
Yeah.
And people didn't want the peace?
It was a miscommunication, but I didn't even know until it was done. So I was just gallivanting around LA, just albino dudes squinting and trying to find stuff.
Right.
No idea. I was in the hood, everything. And I had no clue until I got home. Big Moo, the same guy that bought me the outfit, he hit me up and he's like, yo, I just want you to know we squashed that thing with Tech Nine for you. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because, I told this story on my podcast. And I interviewed Chris Calico, and he's like, you don't even know that the first time I met you, I was about to hurt you very bad. Because we were going to ride on you. And he's like, but Calico could see that I was trying to make peace. He saw it. And he actually told people in that moment, but it spiraled out of control and all this stuff. But yeah, I was on tour with Rakim. There was a thing where, this is before people knew Tech Nine in the industry. I knew who he was, but Rakim didn't know who he was. And we had a show coming up in Kansas that wasn't selling. So the promoter says, I want to add Tech Nine. He added Tech Nine, it sold out immediately. So he's like, we're going to have Tech Nine headline. Rakim is like, I can't open for somebody I never heard of. I'm Rakim. That's what I have. I'm Rakim. So I was like, okay, I'm on Rakim's tour bus. I was like, do you want me to sit it out? Because I'm like, you're my general. I'll ride with you. So he's like, no, you know what? Go to the show. I switched. I got on Ghostface's bus. He's like, ride to the show with Ghostface. Do the show. Speak to Tech Nine. Tell him that it's not anything personal. I just have to take this position for me and my career and my path. So I was like, okay. So just like Rakim didn't know who Tech Nine was, Tech Nine didn't know who I was.
Okay.
So I go to the show to try to speak to him on behalf of Rakim, and they say to him, one of the openers wants to meet you. And he's doing meet and greet, and he's got glasses on, he's got lights on him. He's posing for pictures. And so I walk up and he's like, what's up, little man? He just sunned me. And he was not he wouldn't even look at me. And he's not like that at all. He's very, he's amazing. He's an amazing person. Like, once he knows you're the legit. But he just doesn't, So I couldn't speak to him. I do the show, it gets done, I'm like, dang, I kind of failed. But I could not actually speak to the person Tech Nine.
Wow.
I didn't, so I left. And I go back and he's like, did you talk to him? I was like, man, he sunned me. And so what was conveyed to Tech Nine was, Rakim's not doing the show because he doesn't respect you and he won't play with you and da-da-da. So Tech Nine is taking this like, man, I'm putting all this work in and these my favorite artists are disrespecting me. So Merce went on tour with him. Merce calls me from the Tech Nine tour. I just heard the album that's about to come out. There's a song where he's dissing Rakim. And I'm like, oh, I failed.
Dang.
You know what I'm saying?
Because you were supposed to be the messenger.
Yeah, I failed. So I'm like, Merce, you have to get me in a room with Tech Nine. I have to make this right. So, cause like, yeah, when I was on tour with these guys, I would like go shopping for them, and I would like do things for them. You know, I was like serving them. Like when I went on tour with Doom, I would go like get him things. You know what I mean? Because I'm just like, I'm like,
no ego.
Well, I'm saying it's the guest thing. It's the like you're the elder. It's like you know what I mean, and yeah, it's the service thing. You know, so I'm like, okay, I need to. So when I see Tech Nine, it's at Rock the Bells. Now by this time, Tech Nine has learned who I am.
Okay.
So we're speaking. He's like, "Yo, Brother Ali, what's up, man?" So once he realizes you're real, he's so beautiful to other artists that he sees working hard. He's like, "Yo, what's up, man? Da, da, da. Good to meet you." His stepdad is Muslim. So I'm like, "My stepdad's Muslim." Da da da. So I was like, I was supposed to come and talk to you about this Rakim thing. I don't know if you know, I was on that show when I was on tour with Rakim. I met you and you didn't know who I was. So and he's like, dang. He's like, yeah, sometimes I just meet the openers, I don't. And I'm like, yeah, man. But I was supposed to tell you. I was like, can we get you two together and will you change the song? He's like, I'll talk to him. But he's like, I'm not intending to diss him. I'm just talking about my level of frustration that these bigger artists that I love are like, don't respect me. So I'm like, man. So, but while we're talking, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this part, but a very high, like the head of the guys who wear red is there with Tech Nine. They're his security. Like he's deeply connected. Everybody knows that. That's not a, but I won't say the person's name, but if I said the name, you'd be like, oh yeah, him. Okay. It was him. Okay. He was there. And their job is to protect Tech Nine. So they're standing there while this happens. And somebody says, who is that and what's he talking about? Oh, that's Brother Ali. He's down with Rakim. He's trying to get at Tech Nine about the whole Rakim thing. And they're like, what? So in their eyes, I'm just blatantly barking on Tech Nine in front of them. So they're like, yo, what the...
Yeah, we got to handle this.
You know what I mean? So afterwards, so they let me leave, but Chris Calico, he was there and he's like, I was creeping up behind you ready to take your head off. We were all going to just stomp you out. Like you were going directly to the hospital. Like we all thought we thought that's what it was. I'm like, dang. So, and he's like, but Chris was like, as I got close, I realized your voice, your whole energy, your body language. He said, I went and told him, I don't think it's what y'all think it is. Chris Calico.
Chris said that.
Saved me that day.
Yeah.
And we didn't even know each other yet.
Wow. But he could just tell by your voice, your demeanor, your body language.
He could feel it. Yeah. He's like, this isn't that. This isn't that. You know, and there's people you want to fight, people you don't want to fight. I don't want to fight anybody in that situation. But Chris Calico is like, no thanks.
Absolutely not.
You see how big he is and how he moves and everything.
Right,
like,
right.
Sweetest guy ever.
Yeah.
But it's the same way. If somebody were threatening Slug, or one of my OGs that I love, if somebody, you know what I mean? If somebody ever threatens Yasin Bey, it's like, man, I'll kill everybody. You know what I mean? It's just like, man,
shout out to Yasin.
You don't talk about anybody I love.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I get back to Minneapolis like 4 days later, and I get a call from Big Moo. Yeah, don't worry, that problem is over. I didn't even know it was a problem. Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, bro.
I forgot what the question was.
Those type of stories, it don't even matter what the question was, because I'm just like, man, people don't realize how.
Them threatening your life.
Yeah.
So when they threaten you, people don't realize how real that is.
Yeah.
They see people on TV or on the internet, and it's like, it's just a story to them.
Yeah.
When Jim Jones said what he said, he put a green light on you.
Yeah.
And that's not a joke. Like those dudes are connected to the same people actually in that like in Harlem, that pink is not cute. Like they are really attached to that thing. And that's not a joke. And people don't realize that.
Yeah.
And there are people that want to score points with them and whatever else. So when you're doing those things, it's because of the fact that like anything positive is just such a direct challenge, because it's like I say a little if the room is dark, it just a little bit of light erases all the darkness. And it's like, so you got to stomp out any little flicker. You got to get that flicker out of here, because like we're moving in this darkness. And so they are trying their best to keep us out, even if they don't. It's like, if you ever could be a threat to like this good fat violent, exploitive, You know what I mean?
Lucrative.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Lane.
White people will let us get all the money we want as long as we're giving this message.
Yep.
And as long as we never challenge what they're doing,
yep.
And as long as all the bees are our women, as long as all the violence is aimed at us, then we can just get fat off this forever.
Yep.
So you come along like, why do we have to do that?
Yeah.
It's like that has to stop immediately. So what I was saying is like, yeah, for us to be doing this, the last time I did something like this was me and Immortal Technique.
Wow.
And then Talib Kweli and Styles P did a tour together.
Oh,
and there's been a few.
Okay.
But I mean that's 10 years ago. And me and Technique was 10 years ago.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Wow. So there has been some examples of this in the past of people coming together that it may seem like an odd couple from the outside looking in, but usually it's people who don't all the way fit in one box or another box who it makes sense to be, like.
Where it's about the message, like we're connecting on the level of message. That's still rolling, right?
Yeah.
We're connecting on the level of the message.
Got you.
That's what we're here for.
Yep. Well, I'm so grateful to be in hip hop during this time. My path has been my path. I'm fully motivated and charged up to continue to be, the best version of myself and be around people who continue to inspire me. People who I'm just like, wow, I see the light in you. I see the light in this person, and it pulls new levels out of me that I didn't know could exist inside of this industry. But then also knowing that this industry should never be the only reason why we are wanting to showcase our light. You should be wanting to showcase that light even when there's no cameras on. Mm-hmm. And that makes it easy to just keep your light on once the cameras, turn on. So I've seen that with you, my brother, and I'm excited to keep, walking this walk with you, doing this tour. Number one, we got 17 shows left.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
That's a lot. Yeah, if I didn't know you and I saw you, you would be one of the people that's like, oh man, I would be asking God to know you. I'd be like, man, I need to know this person. You know what I mean?
Word.
It's just such a gift.
That's beautiful. And likewise, like you said, we first met like 10 years ago, and it was in New Orleans because I knew you were coming to town, and I was like, whoa, this is a big deal. Whether or not all the artists in my circle at that time felt like it was a big deal, I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna be at the House of Blues.
And that one was me and Bamboo.
That was you and Bamboo.
And Mally.
Really?
Also, yeah, man. Shout to Bamboo.
Word.
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah. That was in Bamboo, like very serious message.
Absolutely.
He comes from a real like community organizing type of thing. So again, like the theologies don't line up, but just beautiful, and he is the real thing.
Okay.
Like he's another person. Him and his wife. And all the art, they have a whole label, Beat Rock Records.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? Rocky Rivera.
Yeah.
He's an amazing artist. You know what I'm saying? Super dope. But man, those people are what they say they are. And they're that all the time.
Okay.
And just, man, beautiful, beautiful people.
Yeah.
And we'll see them in the Bay, inshallah. But
nice.
Yeah, man. So at that time, we were doing the same. We were doing the same thing. And the tour with Sal Rock. You know what I'm saying? And then, always trying to be like, man, how do we make sure that our network is supporting, and as that we stay together, and that we show people the connections that they might not see.
Got you. Yep. And that's so. I'm going to see to it personally that we get some music done together for sure. Yeah, because that becomes a timestamp that lasts even beyond our physical lives. You know what I'm saying?
That'd be dope.
Oh yeah. So that's gonna be important to do. And yeah, man, just thank you, brother. That's what I wanted to say is thank you. And even for having this type of convo. I'm thus far I've been doing these podcasts, and I just been speaking from the heart in these episodes. So to get to sit down with somebody, you're the first person I'm sitting down with, and I'm just like, yeah. So
that's huge. That's a huge.
That's huge. Yeah.
My first guest was Dr. West.
Ooh, Woo! You hit a home run.
Yeah.
First guess. Oh,
I was like trying to come out heavy.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, it is powerful, brother. So
Yeah.
nah, thank you. And to a great, successful, continuous tour. You know, that's what I would say. This is like a toast to that. You know what I mean? And a non-alcoholic toast, because neither one of us drink. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so crazy that all three of the artists, so me, you, and Ant, don't drink, don't smoke, like we all go back to our hotel room by ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the tour guys are having to hide the fact that they smoke a little sometimes. Like they gotta go be like,
yo,
I'm gonna go I'm gonna go walk way over there.
I know, bro.
It's so crazy.
I know.
It's just like a reverse of what people would think.
Wow. Well, that's that's part of what people need to see, is that these experiences are opportunities for us to be around people who may not be exactly who we are and where we are in our lives or lifestyles, but to A, show that we can coexist, but B, for us to be a living example for people they're also younger than us. You know what I mean? So they're looking like, wow, like whether or not I'm ready to embrace that change or that evolution, I see that it's possible in human form.
Right.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That symbolism is powerful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's it, brother. I appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much.
You, brother.
Absolutely, brother. Love you, man.
I love you.
Yeah.
I love you.